but they use the badge for an illusion of justice. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the flag for an illusion of justice. It's indefensible. Oh, now what they did, convict an innocent man twice with a 16-year-old kid. Yes, we can turn away, pretending all the pieces fit. Oh, but if we turn away, we let them get away with it. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the badge for an illusion of justice. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the flag for an illusion of justice. Of justice. We need a wrecking crew to tear this whole case down. Oh, did you hear the news? There's a new sheriff in town. Not the knee-touching one, not the one supported by them clowns. Oh, the superhero one. She's gonna tear that house of cards down. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the badge for an illusion of justice. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, they abuse the flag for an illusion of justice. Oh, of justice. Wrecking crew to tear this whole thing down.
All right there, everybody. Hey, how you doing? We're here today to talk to our UK correspondent. Aside from Mr. Capaldi, this is Jane Sharp. She got to go see the show with Dean Strang, Jerry Buting, Laura Nirider, and Stephen Drizin. So she got to go see the show. She got to see also the guy that Mindhunter, the show Mindhunter is based on. Interesting stuff. She got to see this show. VIP got to meet these folks afterward and stuff. Funny story she tells about Laura and Stephen instantly recognizing the Control Question t-shirt. So that was awesome. So our UK correspondent, Jane Sharp, is going to be telling us about what happened at the little talk with Nirider, Drizin, Buting, and Strang last night, amongst, as I said, the guy who Mindhunter is based on. Anyway, so she's got a lot of information. I think you guys will find it interesting. And like I said, this is real interesting stuff because these lawyers continue to go around the world and people are still continuing to pay to see them in large numbers because of the passion that has been created because of these cases, and also others like the Central Park Five, Devontae Sanford, and many others that are now starting to get more and more attention, where more and more people are starting to realize that what's going on, that these things are happening, that it's been getting swept under the rug. So it's awesome that these lawyers are touring around the world and still getting so many people to pack into these auditoriums to hear him speak. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So let's go ahead and get on to it now. My little chat with Jane Sharp, and hope you guys enjoy it. Hello everybody, how you doing? We're here today to talk with our UK correspondent, Jane Sharp. Obviously, she got to go see Dean and Jerry and Laura and Steve at the show in the UK there. and she's here to kind of tell us a little bit about what went down there, what got talked about, and some of the interesting things. There's actually something else interesting about that happened. She's going to talk about here in the beginning. For those of you who watch the show Mindhunter, there's actually somebody else there that was quite interesting. So when we get into that, she'll be telling you guys about that. So just wanted to let everybody know that's what we're here talking about today, is obviously this new show where all these lucky dogs over in the UK get to go see Laura and Stephen and Dean and Jerry all together in one place, same time, and so yeah, you guys are pretty lucky that you got to see that. I wish Dean and Jerry would have been in Australia when I was there. So anyways, no. But hey, I got to see David Rudolph. That wasn't a bad trade-off. David Rudolph was pretty brilliant too. So
I would have liked to have seen him.
Yeah, he's awesome. He was really brilliant.
Yeah.
So obviously you got to go see the show there in the UK.
Yeah.
You had VIP passes, which
We did.
right? And
yeah.
So tell us, some of your high points of the experience.
Yeah. So there was a group of us that met up, a group of people from Twitter, and we all had our VIP passes, and we got to meet everyone after the show, and we got to shake hands with them. We got pictures with them. We actually, with Jerry did the meet and greet with us, and he then came on to speak to us further from that. He signed our books, and we got to speak to him outside for a good 10-15 minutes as well. He was very engaging. He was really friendly, just a great guy, really great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard that he's very friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean, you can tell Dean kind of feels a bit uncomfortable about situations like that. He kind of soon went straight after the meet and greet. He was don't get me wrong, he was very pleasant, and they're all so happy that you're there supporting, and they're so grateful to say, and the best thing for us was Jerry actually knew us all, knew who we all were. So when I went up for my meet and greet, he was like, "You're Jane X," because that's my Twitter name.
Right.
He was like, "You're Jane X," and I was just sort of like, oh, "My God, he knows who I am."
Right.
and another high point for me was, and you'll love this one, because as soon as Laura and Steve clocked the t-shirts, they both said in unison, "That's the Control Question t-shirt."
I'm happy to hear them. I'm happy to hear you say they said it in unison, because I left one for Laura, hoping that she would wear it and post a picture of herself wearing it on Twitter at some point, but that hasn't surfaced. So I was a little bit. But hey, at least she recognized it when she saw it.
And because they were like, "We've got them," so yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and at this point, I'll probably show the picture of Steve Drizin wearing the Control Question T-shirt when I was in Australia.
Yeah.
So, and so that was awesome. So that's cool. I'm very gratified that they kind of responded that way to it. So, and of course she was looking sharp, folks. Jane was looking sharp, that night wearing her Control Question T-shirt. So, hey.
I was proud to wear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, all right. So it started out.
Yeah. So
you're the gentleman who actually is like the inspiration for Mindhunter, right?
Yeah. So his name is John Douglas, and he is a FBI profiler. And if you've seen Mindhunter on Netflix, you'll know that he was the inspiration behind the main character, and he actually wrote it. And he's met all kind of different serial killers, from Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, Ed Kemper. He talked a bit about Ed Gein, and he was so interesting and so charismatic and funny. He was a keynote speaker, and he spoke for about an hour. But he's one of them people you could have listened to all night. He was absolutely brilliant, and it was well worth hearing him, talk. He had loads of fascinating stories.
Right. Yeah, I imagine he would. I mean, I love that show. That show's interesting, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done some research into some of the, the serial killers out there and everything, and so when I saw Mindhunter, I found that intriguing and everything. And it's funny that, I don't know, bringing up this subject real briefly, I just thought it was odd that everybody was so gung-ho to kill Ted Bundy. It's like the information they were getting out of Ted Bundy was of such a value that it was kind of really minuscule compared. I mean, the value of the information they were getting from Ted Bundy, the cost of incarcerating Ted Bundy paled in comparison to the value of the information. So I've always been a little bit like, why are we so gung-ho to kill the guy? Why couldn't we wait another maybe 5 years after he teaches more and more of our FBI agents how to deal with these kind of crimes? So that was one thing, and I know he was probably one of the guys involved on that. And I wonder if did he offer an opinion to that effect?
He did, and I was just about to say that's very interesting because he was he sort of said that Ted Bundy didn't really bring much to the table. They kind of knew everything they needed to know. Yeah. So it was and that did surprise me when he said that, because Ted Bundy was one of the most notorious serial killers. I mean, he did talk about him, but he did sort of say that they didn't really do much with him.
That's not the way it appears when you watch the documentaries about it, but okay, well, I'll accept it.
I don't know if that's just based on him alone,
Yeah, it might be his personal feelings or experience.
His personal, yeah.
So, so, all right, well, that's interesting. I don't know, like I said, I mean, Ted Bundy is, for me, one of the ones that random, I mean, those are the type of serial killers that are scariest. I mean, we should have learned. We should have made damn sure we learned everything we could have learned from him, in my opinion, before dispatching him. But so that's always been one of. So anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, fine.
Anything else you had to say that was interesting?
He just talked a lot about. Like I say, he talked about the Lawrence and Bittaker. So they were serial killers who used to take girls in the back of the van, and they used to sort of seal the van so they could grab the girls off the street, and they used to do some pretty gruesome things with ice picks and pliers. Right. And so he talked a bit about that. He talked about when because he before he was an FBI profiler, he sort of worked his way up. So he spoke a lot about what he did. He was just very funny. He was very, and then he had this screen where he was posting pictures, and he had like the remote, and he didn't know where to point it, to change the picture. And it was just so funny because he just kept saying, "Where do I point this damn thing?" And what am I supposed to be doing with this? So yeah, he was really funny.
That's why you're supposed to show up for the rehearsals, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so then it moves on to Dean, Jerry, Laura, and Steve, right?
Yeah. Well, there was 2 other speakers there as well.
You want to talk about them a little bit?
So there was Robert Kolker. He wrote the book Lost Girls, which is about the Long Island serial killer.
Right.
And there's a documentary film actually coming out on Netflix, probably at the sort of autumn 2019. Sorry, just going back to Mindhunter, he did say there will be a season 2, but even if he did know, he couldn't say when it would be.
Right. Yeah,
so
we figured there'd be a season 2. Just a matter of how long we'll be waiting for it, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, well, it's good to know that it's coming. So.
Sorry.
No worries. So the Long Island serial killer guy, and then
Robert Kolker, he. Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm just going to change to 4G.
All right. No, it's
Sorry,
seems to
I
be
was just
working.
changing to 4G because my Wi-Fi was playing up of it.
Okay.
Right, so yeah, Robert Colker, who wrote Lost Girls, so he was he wrote the book about the Long Island serial killers, and there's a Netflix documentary coming out about that,
Right.
about 2019, and that's there was, you know, about the Long Island serial killer because
bit,
he's
I
not
mean-
being found. Yeah, apparently he's still at large and they don't know who he is.
Right.
And that's a bit of a suspect.
From what I understand, they're not even certain that all of the things that are being tied to the Long Island serial killer are all being... that they're not even sure that it's all one guy. They
Yes.
think maybe somebody else could have picked up the torch when someone else stopped at some point and everything. So there's...
Yeah.
I know some little bit about it. Not a whole
There's
lot, but...
There's 4 girls who sort of got found in the same place or the same kind of along the beach, or you know, somewhere, or the remains, and then there was one other girl, and all that bit is a bit suspect, but they don't know whether the two tie in. They don't know if it's one or two, like you say, one or two.
Right.
So yeah, I'll be interested to see that when it comes out, because that's actually a film that's coming
Sure,
out.
yeah.
And
Definitely.
and then just the other person was Professor David Wilson, and he was the presenter. He was the one kind of asking questions and presenting them coming out on stage. And he is a professor of criminology in the UK. He's also an author and a TV presenter.
Right.
So yeah, he was. He didn't really talk much about what he did. He was more sort of interview, you know, asking questions.
Right.
But I think
he's like the moderator, kind of?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
So
then we get to
we
the
do.
reason we're all there.
Yes.
Dean and Jerry and Laura and Steve and Drizin.
Yeah.
And so what all did they talk about? What were some of the interesting things that they brought up?
The first question, which I was very surprised, and our friend the Mad Scotsman will be very pleased about this, because the first question was about their relationship with KZ.
Yeah.
So so Steve Drizin answered this, and Laura Nirider was sat there nodding in agreement with him, because I was kind of watching how she reacted.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say there's a bit of,
Right.
you know. So anyway, Stephen Drizin turned round and said, there is no animosity between them. They do work together. KZ has actually done lectures over at Northwestern CWC. And he said they email one another back and forth about the case. And
Right.
they do work together. He said,
Right.
because there is a lot of speculation, that.
Well,
there's a
people
conflict
saw
of interest.
KZ criticizing Laura Nirider and MAM too,
And
and that's
yes,
where all of that comes
That's
from.
where it comes from,
So.
yeah. In my opinion, it was constructive criticism.
It's KZ offering her opinion, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and KZ's not the type that's shy with her opinion. She's
No.
worked hard to get where she is, and so
Yeah.
she's just not shy about her opinion. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that's
so that
interesting.
was the first.
I kind of assumed that was the case. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always thought that they probably just. I didn't really think it was a conflict of interest, because they kind of need. If Brendan's going to go through a post conviction, then they're going to need all the help from KZ they can get.
right,
So yeah, so that was the first question, and then the second question that was asked is, and this went out to all 4 of them, is, do you despair of the American justice system? So Dean answered yes and no to that, and he did say a little bit more,
right,
but I had to make these notes that I made today, me and Di made them because I did try and we were allowed to take pictures in the audience, and then because we were allowed to take pictures, I kind of tried my luck at filming, and so I was sat there filming, and no one said anything, and I'd got about 12-13 minutes of footage when I came and got a tap on my shoulder, and they made me delete it all in front of them. So I was absolutely gutted. So the notes are but Dean did answer yes and no to that, and he did elaborate a bit, but I can't remember what he elaborated on. But Steve Drizin said he wouldn't celebrate it.
Right. Oh.
No, he wouldn't. Yeah. And Jerry Butin said he's got more faith in the jury system, so he believes that 12 people in a courtroom are better than one judge.
Right.
He still has faith in the general public.
Yeah. Well, jury of your peers, right? That's what it's supposed to be. So, right, makes sense. Judge is not generally most people's peers. So. No.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Especially in your country.
Yeah. Right. They're all up in their ivory towers. So.
Yeah. And then Laura Nirider, she said, I do have faith. She said, and I have faith because of the 1,000 people sat in this room now.
And she's still young.
Yeah. And that was,
right?
Yeah, that was
her. I'm just kidding. That was a horrible thing to say. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, Dean Strang made a joke.
Yeah.
About Laura and her age. Because they said they'd been... because Laura said we've been representing Brendan now for 11 and a half years, and then he made a joke about her age. Yeah, he did.
Right.
And it's not very often.
Weren't you in middle school or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and Dean's he's very, he doesn't. But it was funny. Everyone laughed. That was a funny bit. And then, of course, the usual question was asked to Laura about how's Brendan.
Right.
And she said he's hanging in there. She talked about what an amazing, kind, funny young man he is. He's grown up in front of their eyes. That his strength just inspires them to, just to keep going every day. And then they were asked, how often do you see him? And he has a visit once a week with the social worker. They speak to him every kind of 2 to 3 weeks by telephone, and they visit him every couple of months. And obviously now that he's moved, prisons, obviously his family get to see him a lot more. So
he's in a much lower security.
Yeah.
And he actually has access to a lot of actually cool training activities to help rehabilitate him for an eventual release. So that's actually another advantageous part of having him where he is now, because it will help him to acclimate quickly. Yeah. When we do see him out. So. And
then of course she went on to say that there's still a lot of options left. They probably said that in when you saw them, you'll know.
Yeah, she did talk about that.
Yeah, they've got obviously the post-conviction options.
Right. Motion for post-conviction relief, 97-406, folks.
Yeah. And then the pardon. Clemency, yeah. So she said about that.
Which, as we found out from Tracy last night, folks, in this case, clemency is a bit of an umbrella term. So there's 3 terms that fall under it, and the term that would apply to Brendan here would be commuting of sentence, just so that we're clear. Because pardon, commuting of sentence, and reprieve all fall under clemency. So the particular brand of clemency that would apply to Brendan is the commuting of sentence. So just to be clear on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so then the next, Steve Drizin was talking next, and he was just saying about how the USA is about 30 years behind the UK in criminal justice.
Right.
he was saying that, and that's because of them using the reed techniques in interrogation process. Sorry, interrogation. And he said that's because they still use the reed technique.
Right.
Obviously, it's not allowed in the UK. And he said some states obviously still use it, and there's 26 states, I think he said, in the US that use the recording of suspect interrogations, and that Nevada is the most recently. Oh, sorry, Nevada is the 26th state to now use it.
To use the alternate technique.
To use the recording of interrogations.
To initiate.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Recordings. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good because hopefully we get that up to 50 as soon as possible.
Well,
because that's the only way we're going to be able to continue to educate the public of what to look for, is if we get that footage so that we can show it to everybody. So I want to see more and more of that.
Well, that's what Stephen Drizin said. He said that he hopes by the end of his career, that all 50 states will be doing it.
Yeah, that's how we're able to. I mean, how else are we going to educate our law enforcement and everything, folks? They're not going to change on their own. We're going to have to make sure we get this footage. We're going to have to look at it. We're going to have to go, okay, guys, here we go. Take you by the ear. This is what you don't do. Don't do this. It's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be a little probably embarrassing for them that they couldn't figure it out on their own, but it's going to take the people here in America to turn this around, because the people in power aren't inclined to change anything as it is right now. So,
yeah. And he said Stephen said he also wants to achieve a law passed so that, again, by the end of his career, that all juveniles and / vulnerable adults are not interrogated without an appropriate adult.
Something, yeah, right. An advocate who understands the law and can, something.
Because
not even necessarily a parent.
Yes.
That's something I was watching a lot of stuff about the Central Park 5 here.
Yeah.
And a couple times those dudes were saying, he's like, look, not even a parent. Look at our parents were there.
Yeah.
Our parents were there.
They
didn't help. Didn't matter. Our parents didn't know enough. They didn't understand.
No.
They ended up signing the papers that, signed our lives away. You know what I mean? They didn't. It requires somebody there that knows what's going on or has.
And that's a perfect example. The Central Park 5 was a perfect example of that. It's not always necessarily a parent you need in there, because you need somebody who knows the law.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why an advocate is actually better suited. So I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Laura then went on to talk about Brendan's coerced confession, and obviously, as we all know, how he was fed all the facts at every opportunity, and as any onlooker looking in, if you watch that confession, we all know that it was coerced. Everybody can see that it's coerced, but it's the law. It's the law standing in between them. It's the red tape, and that's what they can't get past. And when I obviously from Making a Murderer 2, you see how he gets to the en banc hearing, and then they lose that. But I didn't realise he was 12 hours within getting out. 12 hours.
Oh no, that's before. No, that was not before the en banc. That was before the 3-judge panel.
For the 7th Circuit.
He was about to get out right before that.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But the bail, whatever it is, the bail board or whatever, the 3 judges, which is basically 3 of the judges that were part of the majority, ruled to deny his bail and kept him in and all that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, how can you imagine thinking up to that point and then 12 hours? It's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah. That's the way the state played it. Good old shimmy sham shimmel.
Yeah.
Anyway. That guy was such a piece of work.
Yeah. Let's not even go there. I'm in a good mood.
I recently had, covered an email that he sent to some of the people in regards to the Michael Funk case over in Neenah, And you just, that guy, man, he's such a slimy weasel. God.
He's awful. He's just, and you know the excuses he gave for not letting Brendan out.
Yeah.
Just pitiful. Just blame,
hiding behind the hallbox skirts.
Hiding behind the family. Yeah, behind, pulling on their coattails.
Right.
And it was just no reason as far as I'm concerned. But who am I?
Yeah.
Anyway. So then Steve Drizin and Laura then went on to say that they've just exonerated a man who was being in for 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not sure of his name.
Oh.
I don't think they mentioned his name. But they were talking about, so they were saying, in the end, science does catch up and people get caught by, DNA. And another interesting thing they were talking about is that people now give their DNA to places like Ancestry.com,
right,
to track down the family tree. So people are found through that, and
right.
They were talking about a case where, or was it Angie Dodge? I think it was Angie Dodge or something Dodge. And in that case, they tracked down this guy, and that was through Ancestry.com. And what happened was he got taken in for questioning,
mm-hmm.
but he had an alibi and he was cleared. And then it came out that it was one of his family members. So because they were sort of related,
mm-hmm.
because their DNA was the same, that's the reason he was taken in for question.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be a family member of his.
Yeah.
And
they caught the grim sleeper here in LA. Similar way. They arrested the guy's son. He was doing something stupid. He was breaking into somebody's house or something. He got caught, whatever, right? So because it was a burglary or whatever, they took his DNA. Well, they test it, and everything, and they go, "Oh my God, this is awfully close to the Grim Sleeper." It was slightly different, but it was like they're like, "Wow, that's awfully damn close." So they immediately knew that there was probably somebody very closely related to that kid that was actually the Grim Sleeper. And so that's how they ended up tracking him down. Very similar way. So that's the thing. This ancestry stuff, and it's just it. Even if the person who committed the crime is staying away from that stuff, all it takes is like for one of their nieces, nephews, son, daughter, anybody to submit their DNA to those sites, and then suddenly they can then there's something to compare. And people go, well, that's a lot like this serial killer. Do you have anybody in your family that's strange? So, no, but that's absolutely true. Yeah, that's becoming a thing.
So then they put the question out to David Wilson put the question out to Dean Strang and said, how are we protected by law if you do give your DNA away? And Dean Strang just said, well, you're not, because basically you're ticking a box to say that they can share your data.
Right. Yeah.
So basically you're not was the short answer.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. That's I'm sure. Like I said, because even the people that are even if the perpetrators stay away from that stuff, people around them are going to end up implicating them. So it's going to be interesting to see where that leads.
And that I was very interested because you don't think, well, you wouldn't, well, not that I would go and give my DNA to Ancestry.com, but it's something you don't think about. So that was an interesting fact, because they was sort of saying they can run it through CODIS and not get a match, but then they can find, it can come up elsewhere, and this is what's happened.
Basically, they can help grow CODIS because of these other
these websites, these places.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and then
there may be a court fight that comes along at some point for people who are going to say maybe that's unconstitutional. I imagine there's going to be a fight over that at some point. We'll have to see how that ends up. But But yeah, it's very interesting development, though.
Yeah.
It is a way to fill out that CODIS system and get more, more data in the system, making it more effective or more helpful in what it does. But like I said, everything's a two-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so moving on.
And then Jerry Buting was asked, and this was a question from the audience, and he was asked, knowing what you know now, would you have done anything differently? And it was actually Sue, one of out of our group from Twitter.
Okay.
She asked that question, and he read it out. And Jerry said that's a tough question. He said, but knowing what I know now, he said him and Dean went back and forth about whether if they'd had a change in place. So like Brendan had his jury in Dane County. Right. Change of venue, yes, sorry. Right. Yeah, so if they'd had a change of venue, would that have made a difference?
Right.
He said he doesn't know whether it would have made a difference, but that's one of the things that they would probably maybe do differently. Right. And that would be a change of venue.
You sure you didn't want to say look at the 7 DVDs? Anyway. Yeah. That's one thing I was thinking for sure that they would be like, if they'd have found that, they'd have been able to make third party, liability. I mean, so it's like I figured that might be one regret they might have. So but whether or not to change the venue is another big question. Did it help? Did it hurt? Yeah, I don't know. It's valid. So
yeah. He said they did go back and forth with it, and but he said maybe it wouldn't have changed because look at Brendan. He was in Dane County and they
still got convicted on that ridiculous confession. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's after 4 hours.
Right on. All right. So, what did they talk about next?
So, right, well, that's all I've got. I'm just trying to think what other things were mentioned. It went really quickly.
Yeah.
It did go really quickly. There is one after. This is not one of the questions that was asked. While we were sat there, but when we were talking to Jerry privately,
right?
I did ask him about this Tom Fallon sabbatical. I said, I don't know if you can comment on this. I said, but I'm just wondering, what about this Tom Fallon sabbatical? I said, is it a coincidence? And he was signing my book at the time, and he said, I can't write anything down. I said, oh no, I don't expect you to. And he was sort of looking puzzled a bit. And he said, I'm working on a case at the moment with Tom Fallon.
Oh wow!
And he was like, I'm not sure about that. He said,
not if he's on sabbatical, Jerry.
So I don't know, but I don't know, when did that sort of email start floating about? About this. What do you know when that email started floating about?
I don't know. I know. I just saw a tweet yesterday.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, yesterday is when I saw a tweet, but I'm not sure.
So I'm wondering if he was already in the UK and just doesn't know.
Didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had like a puzzled look on his face, and he was kind of like, what, why? I don't know. He said, I'm working on a case with Tom Fallon at the moment.
That's odd.
So, yeah.
Against or with? Come on, Jerry.
I know.
I don't like the idea of anybody working with Fallon. I think he's dirty.
No.
But, Tracy Struncy, basically a lawyer, seems to have a more positive opinion about Fallon. But
yes, I did see that. I did. It could be, she did say it could be something.
Yeah, she's a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah.
Me personally, I remember comments like, if they want to run this planting defense, they do so at their own peril.
At their peril.
And telling Brendan's jury in closing arguments, innocent people don't confess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. He'll always be a villain to me. So.
Yeah, and me, yeah. And obviously they touched on the innocent people do confess a bit as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's a ridiculous statement to make. Holy Christ, look at the freaking data coming out of the Innocence Project. Oh, wait, the judges in the legal system are rejecting that for the time being. Okay, we'll have to wait till they get up to speed, so anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I get on my soapbox at times, don't I? Anyway.
Yeah, and also, Dean Strang has a new book out.
Oh, really?
Which, yeah, well, they were selling all books, you know, for all, like, John Colker, and there was, Jerry's book was there, but Jerry was disappointed, because, again, when we were talking to him outside, there was another supporter who'd come, and he saw that he had Dean's book, and he was like, oh, you've got Dean's book, because they hadn't managed to get it to the venue in time.
Oh.
And it's a new book, and it's called Keep the Wretches in Order. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
So have to see if it's available on Audible. I have a few credits on Audible right now, so
he was telling us all to read it. It was it was a shame though that it wasn't there for sale and they couldn't. But I don't know what happened.
That's good to know though. I'm going to check Audible and see if it's there on Audible.
Yeah.
I just recently got Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Steps to a happier, to a more meaningful life, essentially. I don't know if you know who that is, but I just got that one. But now I can get Dean's.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then, like I say, we there probably was more that they spoke about, but like I say, I was making notes today, and it's hard to remember everything they say because I was kind of in awe of them speaking.
Right.
And then obviously I thought for a while I thought I had it all on video because I thought I can't wait to post this in our little group. Thought I got greedy, and that's the thing. If I hadn't got greedy,
yep.
And I just
if you'd have stopped at 10 minutes and put the phone away, they wouldn't have been able to ask you.
They wouldn't have had any idea. But because I was sat there doing it and no one said anything, I just thought, oh, it's okay. And then, unfortunately,
that's why when Paul and I were at the Melbourne Convention Center, him and I went live just before we were waiting, so we were getting bored. So I actually went live from my phone right there, and Paul and I were like, just knucklehead and whatever, doing whatever, just before the show, goofing off and doing whatever for, I don't know, it's like I think it was like a 5 or 9 minute little live we did before then they started coming out on stage. So I was like, okay, let's shut it down, so. But
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think maybe David Rudolph doesn't want to go touring around with Jerry Buting or anybody anymore because he doesn't have a book yet. And I think he always ends up feeling kind of like
left out,
like like the squib at the end because he's like over the corner with everybody's lining up for the other so hopefully he's going to get himself a book pretty soon. So
I'd be fascinated to speak to David Rudolph.
He is awesome. He was
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think I actually was like so kind of exuberant when I met him at the Melbourne Convention Center. I just walked up to him, was shaking his hand. I was just like, oh man, thank you for coming here. I was probably a little bit loud. I was like, thank you for coming. I thought that your explanation about basically a couple things you said about the owl theory kind of clears up a few questions I had for how it could have been plausible. So thank you for that and sharing that with us and stuff. But I think I might have been just a little bit loud, a little bit. So because I noticed he was looking at me and he was like grateful and he was understanding what I was saying, but he looked like a little bit like if I think I might have come across a little bit loud on him. So I was like, oh well, what are you gonna do? I'm a loud American. What are you gonna do?
Well, we were being quite loud in the when we were all stood in the crowd waiting for us, and Jerry kind of turned round and he said, "Oh, I can see you lot are up to no good," but he was laughing. But
awesome.
he in our little group, everyone that spoke to him, like I said, he knew who everyone was, and then I don't know if you know from Twitter, James Bond 007.
I've seen him.
Yeah, and Eric Eats Bananas.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. So obviously they're aliens on there. So when they went up and introduced themselves, all four of them were like, "Wow, so it's you." And then when Di went up, they Laura thanked her for like all her tweets and everything and helping with the everything she does. And then Steve said to her, "You've got the voice of an angel," because she sings and she sent songs to him.
Steve's a musical guy too.
Yeah. And they were grateful for everyone turning out, everyone supporting. Can't thank you enough for all the support you give. And like even Jerry wrote in my book, thank you for supporting Brendan and Stephen. And they are, they did say, another thing Dean did say, although we're not part of the legal team anymore, we do still involve ourselves in the case whereby we still care.
Yeah.
So
well, they can also, just like Fallon, they can be asked to testify at a hearing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Which is why they have to be careful about what they say. So.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have asked Jerry more, but when he was talking to outside, he was just kind of, we kind of went off the topic of making a murder, and he was just like talking to us, asking us where we'd come from. I even asked him about Raleigh. I said to him, where are you next? Because I said,
is he coming?
Well, I asked him about, I said, are you still in London? And he said, no. Because I said, we're up next week for Raleigh. And I said, well, what about Manitowoc? I said, Manitowoc Rally's next week. And he was like, oh, is it next week? And he was like, damn, I think he said North Carolina. He said, I have been, he did say he's been to the Dublin Rally before, though. Yeah. He said, if I was there, I would have gone and supported them.
Oh, well. What are you going to do?
So I did try and get him there.
Awesome.
I did ask.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's sounds like you had a lot of fun, a lot of cool experiences.
It was everything and more I could have wished for.
Yeah.
And Jerry, even after we'd spoke to him outside, he was walking the same way as us, and he walked right across like London with us, right over to get a taxi. And he was kind of like, I'm just a regular guy.
Yeah. Right.
And he's very humble, He's
That's what Paul said. When he saw him in Amsterdam, Jerry got out of the cab and didn't have change for the cab or something, so he immediately bummed some money off of Paul to pay for the cab. So funny stuff. Oh, my God. So, all right. Well, it sounds like you had a great time. It sounds like it was very interesting.
Yes, it was.
Definitely, you guys are all lucky bastards for being able to go see all four of them together over there
in the UK. I feel lucky. Yeah.
Hey, but because we already got Paul coming to the United States, at least he couldn't make it for that show. He had to pick one or the other. Wisconsin or the Strang Buting Nirider Drizin show. Right?
I would urge anyone though, if ever you get the opportunity to see them speak or as a supporter, I would definitely.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Go, definitely. I mean, I asked him if he would be coming back to the UK, and he wasn't sure, but hopefully he will do, and I would go and see him again for sure.
They seem to keep making the rounds, and UK seems to keep making the rounds. So
yes, good.
Yeah, right.
I'm pleased.
Cool. All right. Well,
I mean, I'm so upset I can't be in Manitowoc next week, but we are all going back to London.
It'd be great to have you there if you could, but we understand. It's not easy to get across that pond, is it?
No, it's not. But we will be supporting from London. We have got our rally at Parliament Square, which we've got.
Make sure you got somebody with a YouTube channel going live and showing off a little bit of your rally.
I don't know.
Or at least record it and upload it to Facebook or something.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we could do a Facebook Live, or we could just, We will try something. I just hope there's a good turnout.
All right. Yeah, me too. I do too. I hope it has a lot of people. I hope it's, like I said, we're just trying to create that noise, that awareness, that buzz for Stephen and Brennan, keeping people aware. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you to our UK correspondent, Jane. Like I said, I'm seriously jealous because I really would have loved to have been able to go see that show myself. So you guys are all lucky dogs for getting to be able to go see that. So, and thank you for sharing with us, some of the things, the interesting things that got talked about.
Yeah.
Particularly the guy who was kind of the inspiration for Mindhunter. That's interesting too because, being that I have a broad true crime interest.
Me too.
That is very interesting to me, that guy.
Yeah.
So
he was very interesting. If you can ever go and watch him, definitely go. Yeah. He is a great guy. He's really amazing.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you for coming to share this with us today, the news of the talk over there. And we look forward to having you on maybe again in the future at some point. Yeah. And obviously, hopefully, we'll get some footage for you from your rally over there in the UK.
Yes. Yeah. So. And we'll be watching live because our rally's at 12 o'clock. So we'll be before you. Right. So by the time we've finished, we can watch you going live.
Cool.
We'll all be in the pub. We'll probably all be in the pub, but we'll be watching live.
Three sheets to the wind.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well,
right on.
I think I'll have to get drunk because I'll be too sad that I'll be watching all yous having so much fun, and I'll be like,
oh, it'll be an emotional
So I'll just
time,
get drunk to pacify myself.
There you go. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, thank you for being here today. It's been fun.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Hope everybody enjoys, talking about the little thing that went on in UK there. Yes, we're all jealous, but hey, at least we got to hear about what went down. So, thank you to our UK correspondent, and if you guys haven't already, please hit subscribe. We'll see ya.
Wisconsin can be so cold. The scales of justice can erode. If we accept lies big and bold, we forget we live on Avery Road. We live on Avery Road. Should be easy to see. This could be you, could be me. We shouldn't sit by idly, accepting everything that we are told.